This is the Literary License Podcast with your hosts, Vicky Ray, John Wilson, and Keith Shorgo. Discussing book to screen and everything in between. Coming at you from the UK and USA.
They keep it real.
What if we run straight down like the quickest run ever?
We'll be like wicked fast. We'll give you $100. Come on.
No, you didn't. We didn't let him die, okay? There was nothing we could have done. He jumped down there to save us, okay?
Something in the wind has learned my name. Telling me that things are not the same. In the leaves and the trees and the touch of the breeze. Top of the world, 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 top of the world. Top of the world, such a feeling coming over me now. Top of the world, everything I want the world to be now. You can go on top of the world, top of the world. I'm on top now, I'm on the top now. Yeah, top of the world. I'm on top, 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 top of the world.
Don't you fucking let her look!
No, I won't, man.
Don't you let her look!
Hello, welcome to the Literary License Podcast. Today we'll be discussing the 2010 film Frozen, directed by Adam Green, and the French film Inside from 2007. And before we get started, let's find out who's with us today. So, of course, we have Vicky Ray with us. Say hello, Vicky.
Hey, everybody. What's up?
And we have Will Millar. How are you doing, Will?
Great guy for having me on.
And of course, John won't be with us today due to the fact that John has some kind of backache. God knows what he's been doing, but we'll leave that to your imagination.
Let your mind run wild with it, people.
So before we get started, we like to sit there and see what everyone's been up to. So, Will, what have you been up to since last time we spoke?
Well, I've started blogging regularly on Medium.com. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with this site. It's a pretty good platform for writers who just want to start getting content out on a regular basis, and it's pushed through different platforms depending on what you're writing about. So I've been kind of just doing a lot of just essays on writing itself and just the process of moving, through the changing world of publishing and stuff like that. And then actually starting next week, I've got an exegesis on the novel Salem's Lot that I'm going to be putting out once a week on there for a while. Yeah, I've read that book probably about 20, 30 times at least, and seen the Toby. Yeah, and it just you guys, well, Vicky, you kind of know this a little bit about me. I've got, I've been studying just a lot of esoteric stuff in addition to the horror stuff for, 20 years. So I've got kind of just an interesting idea that I'm going to push out there. And it's going to branch into a lot of high strangeness. I'm really excited about it.
That's what I think it is. It's going to be rather cool.
Yeah. So look for that. You can look for my stuff on Medium right now. I've got a couple of pretty interesting essays out there. And then, like I said, the exegesis comes out next week, and I'm really excited about it. So.
Is it Medium or media.com?
No, it's a Medium, like medium rare.
Medium rare, okay.
Yep.
Excellent. So, looking forward to that. I will be delving into that website over the next couple of days. And what about yourself, Vicky? What have you been up to?
Well, last weekend was a lot of racing with a lot of rain. I like to take my grandson's a BMX little champ, and we got third and fourth place out of a huge competitive field of 6-year-olds. And we have a lot of fun doing that, as everybody well knows. And yesterday, I binged watched Black Summer on Netflix. Sorry, even with the 9th season of The Walking Dead sucking it really bad, I still like The Walking Dead because I still like plots and storylines. I love zombies, but you can just have so much killing without a storyline. But for all of you that are, Z Nation fans, you'll probably like it because it's the prequel. And then I watched, this is going to be for the Shudder. I watched all of Discovery of Witches for their first season. I really liked that one. It was really cool. And also, I'm getting all excited for winter coming tomorrow night. Game of Thrones, the 8th and final season.
Finally. Me personally, I've been up to, getting season 3 together. We got some surprises starting in July of this year. We'll be doing Dark Shadows starting from episode 1. And we have a new co-host that will be joining us for Dark Shadows, who is the president of the Dark Shadows fan club, who's actually at this particular point in time at the Dark Shadows convention, getting people and interviews ready for us. So that's
awesome. I love Dark Shadows. I like it though. We got to get first. How many episodes to Barnabas is like 200 episodes. Yeah. So I've got to turn it on like you suggested. I watched it. My mother forbade me to watch it, but I'm really excited about Dark Shadows because I just love that series. I like the what do you call it when they have to film it live, so they always make mistakes and they had to keep going and rolling with it, like the door not opening or forgetting their lines. It's just fantastic.
I mean, the interesting thing about Dark Shadows, once we get into those episodes, is that show was actually recorded live. So basically, it's the camera started, you just went with it. There's no stopping, no editing, nothing. So quite interesting.
It's fantastic. I love it.
So getting ready for that. Also, we're going to be looking for some new co-hosts. So any listeners out there that are interested in becoming a co-host with the Literary License Podcast, next season we'll be doing Edgar Allan Poe for our Books to Screen. So that'd be nice short stories for everyone to read and classic films to watch. We'll also be doing European horror and, of course, our 2-for-1 and our Dark Shadows. So if anyone is interested, please email me at Keith, KEITH.Shago, CHAWGO @LLpodcast.com. And besides that, what else have I been doing? I've also been doing Sabrina, the Teenage Witch. I've watched the next season of that, which was excellent, which is now
it is
on
the
Netflix.
next season because it said new episodes, and then I clicked on it, and it kept going back to the old episodes, so I was getting pissed. So, okay, if you say those are the new episodes, I'm going to have to really
new episodes. Very, very good. Of course, I also finished The Order, which was fantastic. Started watching Black Summer. I
know.
When I find my problem is if I start rooting for the zombies, which means it doesn't say a lot for the
only smart person on the whole show is the Chinese girl.
Yeah, and you can't understand words that she says. But then again, as I said before, and no offense to those people out there who may be SJWs, but zombies don't really go for Chinese people, because if they did, they'd only be hungry an hour later.
I know. I mean, well, the whole thing is you turn into a zombie in like 5 seconds. You don't even have, the chance for as soon as you're bit, you're a zombie. As soon as you drop dead, you're a zombie. At least with The Walking Dead, there's a storyline, even though it sucks now. But I just love having some kind of storyline with the product. That's all.
I think my problem basically with the zombie outlook is kind of like
overdone, actually.
Well, I think it's with anything that's apocalyptic. That basically is like once the apocalyptic situation happens and you have survivors, all you're going to have is those people surviving, unless you can figure out a way to end the whole apocalyptic outcome. And so, and I think, The Walking Dead, for all that it was good when it first started, and I do think that you do have a problem about how do you end this, because it is people walking and trying to survive, and after a while you kind of run out of storylines, and it's a bit like The Fugitive back in the 60s, or Planet of the Apes in the 70s, or Logan's Run, the TV series, that, or any kind of series where you basically have people running for their lives. Is how do you end that? Because the only way is either through death or the world is blowing up. So,
well, they killed off like 7 or 8 of a lot of the characters a couple weeks back. I was like blown away. And a lot of those characters did not want to be killed off. And I wish the writers would get their shit straight, because it was a great series, and it's just like I'm in mourning over the whole thing. Well, I think Negan. I think Negan is going to take on what's her name, Alpha, and that's going to be like Clash of the Titans. So I'm really hoping that happens.
I think where Walking Dead kind of went a bit askew for me is when it started separating itself from the comic books.
Right.
Because what happened is you had characters in the comic book that do die but do survive in the TV series, only because that became dictated not by the story, but more dictated by the audience and who the audience fell in love with. And sometimes I think that can hinder a program sometimes, but, if they
kill off Daryl, it's over.
Well, I was glad when they killed off Carl. The most annoying.
Oh, stop. He was great. Oh, my God. People are going to send you hate mail.
Oh, I hate it.
Shago at LLpodcast.com.
That's the reason why I stopped watching that, is because of Carl. Every time I saw him, I was like, fucking die. Just die. Him and Rick. I hated Rick as well. It's like, God, I'm in charge, and I'm just going to make a bunch of bad decisions every single episode. And then I'm going to go through depression and manic depression for 5 or 6 episodes. Then I'm going to, instead of learning a lesson, I'm going to make the same bad mistakes over and over again. It's like,
I really appreciated the video you posted on my Facebook about the production of movies in Watertown, New York. That little shot.
Well, yeah, if that doesn't give me any hate mail, nothing can. Or the OK sign. Apparently the OK sign nowadays is white supremacy. Yeah, so if you want to say OK to someone, I suggest you say it and not show it, because obviously you'd be a white supremacist. So, I don't know. The world's gone mad. But other than that, that's pretty much it. I'm quite interested in the new film on Netflix called Silence, which looks quite promising. Has a really good cast, so I'll probably dig into that this weekend. But other than that, going to be living my life. Got my friend Deb's here for a month. It's going fine. She hasn't invaded my space, so that's quite good. Good. And then I got a couple friends coming from college from Tulsa, Oklahoma, and they're going to be here.
Awesome.
Later, so that'll be quite nice to see them. So other than that, life just keeps ticking.
You're going to have a packed house.
Yeah. I'd probably end up murdering people by the end of it. So just as long as I can play my computer games and people just leave me alone, so I'll be fine. So, well, I guess that will bring us to Frozen, 2010, Adam Green's film. Now, of course, this is John's pick, and since John's not here, we're going to fill in for him. So I've done a little bit of research, and what I haven't done, I will make up. No, I'm kidding. Frozen came out in 2010. Now, it's an Adam Green film. Adam Green is probably more famous for the Hatchet films and Aleister Crowley. Yeah. Now, I do like Adam Green films a lot. I think he does really, really well. Though, to me, sometimes Adam Green has a little bit of problems with dialogue and characterization of his characters a little bit, which we'll get into in Frozen. Frozen is probably his first film into, kind of a major studio sort of thing. Before that, he's kind of worked on the fringes, and he's been on the outside of it, which sometimes I think you can come up with the director's best work.
And this movie was a total anxiety attack.
Now, another good thing about Adam Green, he's really good friends with Kane Hodder, and those people out there who don't know Kane Hodder is, shame on you. He's considered the best Jason of the Friday the 13th series. Overall, I mean, there's not a lot to really say about the making of Frozen. It came out, did quite well, didn't, cost not very much money, and critics tend to like it. It was filmed in Ogden, Utah in February 2009 and was distributed by Anchor Bay Entertainment. The film does star Emma Bell, Sean Ashmore, and Keith Zeggers. So, Vicky, do you have anything to add about the making of Frozen?
They filmed it, I believe, in Utah, did they not?
Yes, they did. That's what I just said.
Yeah, okay. I'm not awake. I was up at 6 a.m., okay, thinking I had a podcast at 6 a.m., so I don't want to hear your crap. Just fuck off, Keith. I don't know. I think if this movie, if anybody's into anxiety, this is your Huckleberry. Or I used to ski, and I was thinking of Dry Hill the whole time, Keith.
Oh yeah.
I was reading this because it's so easy to really actually to forget somebody on a ski lift. There's no lie. But the thing is, it's weekend box office though. It only grossed 131,000. It didn't do really well. It kind of underperformed in following weeks. The film earned I believe 4 million. It says its total gross receipts is slightly less than 2.7, but I think it's a must see for people. I mean, it rated pretty well, and apparently there was bonus features that I didn't actually see. Where Adam Green and Sean Ashmore and Emma Bell do documentaries about catching frostbite, the origins of Frozen. Mm-hmm. And 3 Below Zero and Shooting Through It and Beating the Mountain. I was trying to figure out if this was based on a true story, but I didn't come across anything like that. But I can see where this can actually happen. Yeah. I believe it.
Well, I mean, it might have underperformed, but then again, I think the film only cost less than $1 million to make. So
it didn't make a whole. I know, and it was really
money, so. There
wasn't a whole lot of actors in it. It was just basically the three of them with a few extras here and there. Mm-hmm. And but I don't know. I liked it. I never even heard of it. When you guys said Frozen, I go, "We're going to do the Disney movie."
Let it go.
Are we going to talk about Elsa for 2 hours?
Do you want to build a snowman? What about yourself, Will? Do you have anything about the making of Frozen?
No. Can I just be honest? Okay, so I get Adam Green. Yeah, Adam Green is like Charles Band. He does really good, practical effects, and his monsters are all really cool. Mm-hmm. But this movie just irritates the living crap out of me because I don't know if you guys know this or not, but I live here in Utah and I build log cabins up in the mountains. So to me, this movie was about 3 idiots. This was an hour and a half. That Peter Griffin sketch on Family Guy where he locks himself in the car because he drops his keys outside and can't get out. Yeah. That's what this movie was to me. It just, And I know, like,
Yeah.
if Adam Green ever listens to this, I'm probably the one person who, like, this isn't for, just because it was, like, the resolution of your movie shouldn't take less time than, like, you know, the actual movie itself. This would have been the 45 minutes that it took me to climb down and, like, you know, go get somebody. Like, honestly,
Right.
and yeah, the whole thing with the wolves, it was really cool. Like, the effects were great, but if I'm not frightened by the premise, then it's a really shitty VR game. You know,
Yeah, I agree with you.
like,
I wasn't frightened. It didn't frighten me. It just anxiety ridden a little bit, but they are stupid asses. You're right.
and again, like, you know, if you sat Adam Green down and was like, well, if you're talking to an ex-Marine who, like, lives in the woods, you know, is this movie going to be scary? He's going to be like, no, you know. So I watched this. I've been aware of it for, you know, however long it's been out, almost 10 years, because I really do like the Hatchet movies, and Victor Crowley is fun. You know, like, I'm not hating on Adam Green at all. I'm just the worst possible audience for the film. And if you just leave me alone with Parker and Lynch and Dan for minutes, I fucking hate them all. Like, honestly. And so, but, you know, whatever. It's fine. It's fine. It's an okay movie. The practical effects are amazing, and I don't know.
Okay.
That's my.
What I'm going to
no.
do, I'll give a brief synopsis of the film, and then we're going to cut to a commercial and the trailer, and we'll be right back.
Amazon. Oops, wrong Amazon. Although we both contain an array of diversity, the rainforest with all of its animals and us with all of our products, come check us over today and find all the products you need quickly and efficiently. And buy it with one click. And now you can even use us to donate to your favorite charities using Amazon Smile. Amazon Smile is worth your while. Come check us out today.
Last run, gotta make it count.
No one knows that we're up here.
This is so messed up.
It's Sunday, and they're not open again till Friday.
If we're up here all week, we're gonna die.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
I don't want to die of it. Help!
Okay, Bradley, tell the class about your holidays.
Yeah, it was really good. My dad built us a new kitchen. It's got wooden bench tops and some stupid self-closing drawers. There was a dishwasher that was a real and even a breakfast bar. Mum thought Dad was a massive.
Get a kitchen installed without teaching your kids new words. Visit ikea.com.au. We can plan, deliver and install the whole thing for you.
Hello, welcome back. So, Vicky, give us a brief synopsis of Frozen, which I'm sure you can do in 2 sentences.
I can. It's an American thriller drama written and directed by Adam Green with Emma Bell, Sean Ashmore, and Kevin Zegers. I've never really heard of any of them. And it's basically about 3 dumbasses stranded on a chairlift, as Will said, basically, and are forced to make life or death choices, which prove they're more perilous in staying put than freezing to death. I mean, I would have been down that sucker really quick. There's no way I would have stayed up there that long and fall asleep with my hand on the bar.
I mean, the problem that I have with Frozen basically is that I think it's a really good premise, but unfortunately, I think this is a kind of like those people, those authors that write in the first person. And I'll use Twilight out there as an example. And the thing is, if you're going to spend that much time with someone saying, I, you got to make that person really likable. And unfortunately, there's nothing that makes these people likable. The thing is, you don't root for them. You don't care about them. And you think, what a bunch of assholes. The girl is weak and just stupid.
I hate it. She was like one of those people that fall down to break. She did break her ankle. And then, what is this fuckery?
Yeah. Can we just talk about the fact that, like, a grown woman allowed somebody to be like, no, wear your helmet, and she's all like, oh, thanks. Like, honestly, like, are you that moment right there where he's like, wear the helmet, and she's like, yes, sir. She yes sir'd her own boyfriend.
No shit, man. Grow a vagina, for Christ's sake.
I mean, maybe this is like the Me Too film for everyone. I mean, it's kind of like,
don't even get me going.
you kind of got like this, and you got this boyfriend, and it's just like, and the boyfriend, and then you got the best friend who thinks he's quite the cock of the walk, and he's not. I mean, he's average. He's about as average as the normal person in the street. So, he's not God's gift to women.
I know, they make him like, he's okay until he takes his beanie off.
Yeah, and then you got like the boyfriend and the relationship with the girlfriend, which is odd. And then it's kind of like, I don't know. And then you get like, oh, then she's flirting. And the thing is, she's cute. Don't get me wrong. She's not ugly, but she's not pretty. Exactly some bombshell that's going to sit there and be able to turn men around her pinky. So she gets like some goofy guy to get them free chairlift because obviously they're too cheap to buy a season ticket.
Well, she had to go get the chairlift, you remember, with $100, and he was pissed that she didn't bring him back change.
Well, is that because is that too cheap? They were too cheap to buy a season pass or something? Well, what was that?
Yeah.
I mean, I took a year off to go skiing in Colorado, and I lived in Winter Park, and it was fantastic. And I mean, luckily, I worked in a property management company whilst I was working there, so I could go skiing most times. And luckily I didn't do the chairlift because I'm pretty sure I would just let people up there just to be an asshole.
You would too. If I knew you were operating a chairlift, there's no fucking way I would have freaking gone up. Because you're an asshole like that.
Well, especially in those days when I used to check people in and out of the property management place. If they were a born again Christian group, at that time my ear would pierce and I'd hang my cross upside down and wait on them just to piss them off. Me and my black mohawk at that time.
Oh, no. Well, you got to show me pictures of that, man. I need pictures.
Yeah, Frozen it's an odd little film, and I do think that where Adam Green kind of does go wrong a little bit is he doesn't have likable characters, and I think that if you're going to do a film that's claustrophobic or has very little cast, and basically everything hinges on those three cast members, you got to do something to make them likable. You got to do something to make you feel akin to them. And you got to do something that you care what happens to them. I didn't care. There's not one part of me that thought, God, I hope they get off that chairlift. Part of me is thinking, I got it. I hope they sit there and get eaten by the wolves. I was rooting for the wolves.
Didn't you realize, Will, didn't you think, okay, one of these dumbasses is going to jump off this chairlift, and what you knew that the broken compound fracture shit was going to happen. You just knew it.
Well, yeah, just climb down. Honestly, the second guy got it right. It's just that they waited too long, and so what? He ripped his hands up. It would have been a 20-minute thing. Climb down. And what you said, Keith, these characters are defined by their own inoffensiveness. That's the only thing that they did with these guys. The big thing at the end was Lynch was this girl was into E.T. and Aerosmith, just like me. I thought, are you a pod person? What the? And, they really missed. This movie could have been amazing if when Parker asked Lynch, why don't you date? If he said, well, I've killed all my girlfriends and now I'm trying to decide what to do with you, I would have been back into this movie so fast. It would have been amazing. If he had just, honestly, hey, Adam Green, do this next time. Like, make your character evil. Fuck, that would have been super interesting. Or like, what if Parker just talked about how she was she ran over like 3 people on the way up. Like, they could have had a conversation about that. It could have been anything, but
even if the girl was sleeping with the 2 friends, that would have made it interesting.
Right, that could have been something. That would have been interesting. But everyone is just, you're just.
Then she loses her glove. It's like, and then you knew when the guy was coming underneath him with the truck, you knew he wasn't going to see him.
That was Kane Hodder, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was Kane Hodder.
Okay,
that was Jason Voorhees.
Oh, was that him? I didn't know that.
Yeah, I have to give some love to Adam Green for keeping like the horror industry going and stuff. That's really cool. I just wish that this movie was better. Like, honestly, it just.
Yeah, I have to sit there and say that even when the Sean Ashmore character is going across the wire to the post right, down, and you're thinking to yourself, is like, you're looking at him going, put your legs up, cross your legs across the wire, and go.
Yes.
Go that way across. That way, you wouldn't be tearing up your hands. You wouldn't be. I mean, yeah. I know snow boots are very, very heavy, but at the same time, it's just like, show a bit of. I don't know.
Yeah, you're fighting for your life. Yeah.
And all she did was sit in the chair and to just cry most of the time instead of coming up with ideas. It's like, come on. I hate it when they make women helpless. It drives me crazy. At least, with other movies like the Jason series, women kick ass in that, and they don't go without a fight.
Well, I
can't work that inside. But yeah.
I mean, I have to then say that when I was watching this, and I thought that if these 3 lived, they'd be the ones that be screaming on YouTube about Trump winning. That's what. No. It's like this, I guess it's just watching. I guess it's spending too much time with millennials. And the thing is, this film is short. This film was only 93 minutes long, and it felt a lot longer because it's
just like, when are they going to come to some kind of conclusion here?
I mean,
can I just say,
yes,
there's a part, the part where her hand freezes to the bar,
right?
And I'm watching that, and I hit the little clicker on the bottom and realized that this movie had another half hour to go from there.
I did that too.
I feel like the pain in her hand mirrored the pain in my soul at the idea of sitting through this for another half an hour.
I felt the same way. Sorry, John.
Yeah, me too. I'm there as well. I mean, what I will say that's good about the film is the practical effects were really well done. I will give that. And I have to there say that the scenery shots and stuff like this was quite beautifully shot.
Yeah.
For the most part.
Well, it's a beautiful state.
Yeah. If I was in film school and this was like a technical project, like design some really practical effects and make it beautiful looking, yeah, he gets points for it. But you can't treat story as an obligation to just move from one kill scene to the next. There has to be something in there, Otherwise, it's porn, basically.
There's no substance. Right? No substance.
Yeah. And did he actually use the music from Saved by the Bell for those shots when they were skiing?
I don't know. He could have. To be honest, the film could have done a little bit of porno screech. Porn screech.
Oh my God.
Lift it up to something like different. I mean, the soundtrack was actually composed by Andy Garfield. They did release a limited press run of 500 copies. So if you're out there and you bought yourself a copy of it, yay! But I don't remember any of them.
Did you notice the Cody Blue Schneider is a Twisted Sister fan in the cafeteria?
No.
Well, I think that's more like Adam Green's a big fan of the 80s, and the thing is, if you look at most of his films do give a nod to the 80s, whether it's the Hatchet films, even the stuff that VHS 1 and 2, he put some sequences in that, and the ABC of Death as well. He has a sequence in that. So he is. Mm-hmm. So a lot of times you will see in his films, Twisted Sister T-shirts or Styx T-shirts or something that flashes back to the 80s.
Yeah.
So he's a huge fan of that, and he is part of the 80s. I mean, he's a lot younger than. I don't think he grew up in the 80s, but I think he loves the 80s.
I love the 80s. I'm trapped there too. I miss music, but
surprisingly enough, this film was up for a nomination for the Saturn Award for Best Horror Film. It didn't win. Drag Me to Hell, which came out the same year, won. So it didn't win.
Please tell me there's an honest trailer about this movie.
No, there isn't. So we'll be.
There needs to be an honest trailer. I saw that. I posted the one about Twilight the other day ago, and I almost peed my pants. I was laughing so hard. Those are great.
I mean, I think that I understand what Adam Green was trying to do. I understand, the synopsis behind it and stuff like this. It just didn't come across well. I think it's one of those ideas where someone goes, "Oh, we have a good idea. Okay, let's make something." Okay, people stuck on a chairlift, and that's where it went. There's no follow through. There's no thinking it through.
There's no closure. She gets in a car.
It honestly reminded me of the conversations that I used to have with my kids when they were 6 years old, and be like, "What if you got stuck in the chairlift?" I don't know. I'd climb down. Well, what if you couldn't? I don't know. Why couldn't I? I don't know. What about wolves? What if wolves were there? It's like, well, fuck. Like, that's your story. Anyway, I feel bad kind of bashing on it because I really do like it.
We normally don't bash on movies so bad, but this one just deserves it.
Actually, I haven't bashed on a film in our podcast since The Road. I bashed on The Road. But, that's season 1. So obviously I didn't learn any lessons about when we're picking films.
You bashed on Hill House series too.
Well, yeah, but we weren't covering it. So I was watching it. I was just hugely disappointed. Yeah, I think...
Rotten Tomatoes gave it like a 62 out of 91.
Yeah, I mean, it scored rather high considering, which I found quite shocking. I kind of wish that if Adam Green was going to do this film over, it would have been interesting for him to see what we're covering next month, which is Alfred Hitchcock's Lifeboat. How to get it right, how to get people stuck in one situation, and then how you make it interesting all the way through.
I love that movie. It's one of my favorites.
And even the reason why they're stuck up there was kind of stupid as well.
They saw the 3 other people come down, and the other guy was pushing the button for the chairlift. So,
but the problem basically is that this is where I think that Adam Green kind of needs someone there to edit his scripts and look at the way things pan out, because he has a shot where the scare lift operator's putting these flags on to make sure that everyone's empty, right? And then the other guy comes through and he just sees the other guys. He stops doing that. So it's like, well, if this is the policy and this is how you do it, then why is he just stopping? Because he's not doing his job properly. So there's a lot of inconsistencies here. And considering that the film's not huge on plot, you just think it would be a lot easier to figure some of this stuff out a little bit better, I guess. It could have been played a bit better. Though I did like the wolves. I thought the wolves were cool.
I love wolves, period. A lot of people don't like them. They get a bad rap, but I love them. We got coyotes out back because we got a sanctuary out back. I listen to them when they're outside. I love them. They get my dogs going. I got my ankle biters. They're just howling with the pack out back.
So funny.
So, before we move on to our next film, because obviously none of us have anything nice to say about Frozen.
We're really not getting anywhere fast on this. Sorry, listeners.
If you're looking for a love fest, you come to the wrong place. So, Vicky, final analysis on 2010's Frozen by Adam Green.
Well, I can't say that I didn't hate it completely, I mean, I thought I just like ineffective characters. That was the problem I had with it. And I don't like women who are pussies. So, and just cry through a whole situation because I'd be fighting crazy to get off that fucking chairlift. But like Will said, I pushed the button there on, watching it because I was watching it on Amazon. And it said 30 minutes or something like that. And I'm going, just fuck. 30 more minutes of this misery. But other than that, You can watch it. It's not going to kill you, people. You'll probably want to watch it now, and you'll probably like it.
Yeah, after our winning reviews. Amazon's going to have a rush on renting that one. So, Will, what are your final thoughts on Frozen?
Like I said, I recognize I'm just not the market for this, but like I know that there is a market for movies like this. If you're one of those people who like was super to like like Lifeboat, but there's great versions of this kind of movie. Lifeboat's one of them. The Battery, which came out a couple of years ago, is another one. So into those movies that give you that sense of claustrophobia, it's one of them. It's very effective practical effects, very beautifully shot. Just
the characters.
Yeah, like maybe watch it with the volume all the way down and your favorite music on, I guess. That might be it.
We really love this movie, people.
For me personally, this kind of reminds me of there's around 2010, well, between 2004 and 2010, there was a slash of these kind of movies coming out with people stuck. We had Open Water, which had these stupid people and a baby on board, and they all decided to go swimming while they're in the boat and forgot to put the ladder down, and you watch the shark pick them off and vice versa and everything else that went on with it. And there's kind of a lot of these kind of films that are coming out around this time, and they all suffer from the same thing, which is like poor characterizations, characters you didn't care about. And the thing is, if you're going to do a slasher film, it's okay because you got plenty of body count to go around and you can be there for the practical effects. I think with a film like this, I think that if you're going to make a film with a premise of people stuck somewhere and they need to survive and get out alive, you might want to do better characterizations and make better people and people that you care about and like. Because, if you're rooting for wolves who are only in the film for about 3 minutes, you have a problem, people. So, but yeah, Frozen 2010 by Adam Green will not be one of my favorites, but Adam Green, we do love you. And we suggest if you want to watch an Adam Green film, check out the Hatchet series. Hatchets 1, 2, and 3. Even Aleister Crowley was okay. So,
yeah.
Well, that brings us to 2007 French film Inside,
which I'm sure we'll have better things to say about.
Oh my God, yes. I love this movie.
I loved it, but it just totally freaked me out as a woman. That's all I'm saying.
Inside is a 2007 French home invasion horror film, which is directed by Julien Maury and Alexandre Bustillo. And the fantastic thing about these two directors, I suggest that if you do like Inside and you do hunt out Inside, check out the other 3 films they did, which is Livid, which is available now on Shudder. They Live Among Us, which is fantastic as well, which is an interesting French film. And of course, last year they did Leatherface, which was the film about the origin story of Leatherface, which, it's one of those films that, because there's not a lot of gore in it, but it's beautifully filmed and it has a very good original origin story. And it's quite an interesting story, and they did decide to do something different with it. Another good thing about Inside is Alysson Paradis. If Paradis sounds like a name that you recognize, Vanessa Paradis, Alysson's sister, was married to Johnny Depp for a number of years.
Yes.
And Beatrice Dalle from Betty Blue. Now, Beatrice Dalle is a favorite of these two directors, and she tends to appear in all their films. So
they were very effective actresses.
So, is there anything you'd like to say about the making of Inside 2007?
Just that you mentioned the 4 that they did together. Also, I think Bustillo did a movie called Frontiers. Are you guys familiar with that one?
Yes, I love Frontiers.
I don't believe I am.
Okay, so Frontiers, very much, this is part of the new wave of French horror, which is, Inside is that's the fountainhead of it. But, Switchblade Romance is another one along these. I think that came out here under the name High Tension. There was a lot of these French movies that came out from like 2000, like the early 2000s till about, I would say like 2010, when this came out, it was kind of at its height. They were all just so good. Frontiers is actually my favorite out of all of those new wave of French horror movies. If you ever get a chance to do that one for your show, man, I couldn't recommend it enough.
Yeah, Bloody Disgusting ranked at 12th in the list of the top 20 horror films of the decade.
What's that now?
Bloody Disgusting. They ranked the film 12th in their list of the top 20 horror films of the decade. So it was well received.
Yeah. Inside is just it's relentless, you know, like
yes, it is. Oh my God, it doesn't stop.
There's just something about the way that they make it both good and as good as it is, it's one of the most gut-wrenching movies I think I've ever seen.
Literally gut-wrenching.
Yeah, the first time I watched it, I just couldn't believe what I was seeing. I remember it was about...
I couldn't either. I was like, oh my God. I was like, I was going to kill them too for making me watch this. I mean, I kept my legs closed the whole movie.
I mean, another interesting thing about the French extreme horror that was coming out around that time, we also had like Martyrs, which did very, very well. And unfortunately, the Americans, for some reason, instead of like hunting out the French versions of this, have remade a lot of these films.
The remake sucked. I watched it.
To not very good reviews and stuff like this.
Yeah.
I don't even know why they tried to remake it. You can't remake that.
Well, no, because something about, I think this movie, it rests on Beatrice Dalle.
Yes.
The villain of this movie, just the way that she moves around in that dress. There's something.
I know.
She totally looks like witch, and it's just when you watch her, just the way that she moves and every little tick of her face, you can't redo that. Like it's she's one of the best villains I've ever seen.
Yes, you love to hate her.
Yeah.
I mean, what's also interesting about these two directors as well is that, you know, that they were supposed to do the Rob Zombie Halloween 2, and they refused to because they had difficulty in the American
genre.
No, the American studio system, and they had problems with but they had some really interesting things that they wanted to do. And then, of course, we reverted back to Rob Zombie, and then we got something for him to put his wife in yet again. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut to a commercial break and to the trailer of Inside, and then we'll be right back.
Hello?
What's your favorite scary movie?
I have a bunch of favorite movies. I watch them all on Shudder.com for only $4.99 a month.
That's a scary low price.
But if I had to pick a favorite, it'd probably be Scream.
Oh.
Yeah, it's the only streaming service that lets me watch hundreds of horror movies on demand.
I'll be right back.
Hello? Hello? Hello, are you gonna subscribe? Hello?
Go to Shudder.com to subscribe. If you dare.
morning face. You get it when you don't sleep well. This is what happened to Linda.
Morning, guys.
Good morning. Ah, what is that thing?
It's me, Linda.
Oh my God, it talks! Run!
No, it's me, Linda from HR.
It looks hungry! Save the children! Save them! Stay back, I've got mace!
Ow, that went in my eyes.
Quit moving!
It's called beauty sleep for a reason. And there's never been a better time to get some.
Get 20% off IKEA Sultan mattresses. IKEA, love your home.
Hello, welcome back. So before we get into our discussion about Inside, Vicky, do you want to give us a brief synopsis of the 2007?
Yeah, it's a 2007 French home invasion horror film. It was directed by Julien, Maury, and Alexandre Bustillo. Is that how you say it?
Bustillo.
And it's starred Alysson, Paradis, and Beatrice, Dalle. And it was about 4 months after the death of her husband. They were in a car accident. A woman on the brink of motherhood. She's tormented in her home by a strange woman who wants her unborn baby. And eventually you find out why she wants her unborn baby. And she does everything she can to get the unborn baby with a pair of scissors. So here we go.
So what are your thoughts of Inside?
Oh, I love this. I've never... It's one of those ones that you watch and this is really only the second time I've watched it. But I was able to just get over the initial shock of what I had seen the first time and kind of just really, the intensity of it sort of reminds me of the Evil Dead movies in that, like, you're watching it and there's no way these people weren't getting physically hurt in some of these scenes. Like, there's just, you feel like you're watching just a flat out, I wouldn't say like snuff film because like there's an artistry to this that it's not just butchery. Like they're doing something sort of with the way that every shot is done, all of the use of color, the use of lighting, and then like I said, the way that Beatrice Dalle just kind of moves about, kind of like a ghost. Some of the best scenes. For
a horror flick, it was filmed beautifully. I have to agree.
Yeah. And I think that some of the best scenes are just her kind of in the background moving from one side of the screen to the other while two people are arguing or something like that.
That was just creepy. That was just creepy. Yeah. And then you had the nurse with the cigarette.
Oh my goodness. That nurse with the cigarettes in all their films, and she's in Among the Living as well, and she's just fantastic. There's something a bit off kiltered about her. Just something a bit off. Yeah. But that's what I quite like about Inside, though. There's these little sequences in Inside that kind of just slightly throw you off balance a little bit. Because, I mean, it opens up, and basically, I mean, the opening scene, basically, of the baby being shoved up against the uterus wall.
Yeah.
I said that was done very effectively. And then then we get the car crash, and we're not quite sure who we're seeing in the car crash, which is quite interesting. And then as the story unfolds, I like that they unfold everything like a flower, basically, and just slowly unfold the storyline and stuff like this, and you get to know it more. But unlike Frozen, what we now have is people that we actually like. People that we're interested in. I mean, even the killer, even the woman who's killing, when you find out the reason why she's doing what she's doing, you're horrified by what she's doing, but you do understand why she's doing it.
And as a woman, we all know the one thing I didn't was she was in labor, when she was, I mean, I don't even know how she was moving though. That's the one thing I had wrong with me. When you're in labor, you're crawling across the floor. Trust me, I've done it 3 times. And I mean, you can't fight off anybody. But I guess when your life is in jeopardy like that, you can kick serious ass, especially if you're trying to protect your unborn child. But I mean, she was moving around way too much for me. That's the only thing I had wrong with the movie, because any woman that sees this is going to freak you out, especially you pregnant ladies, because this woman tries to extract her child in utero with a pair of scissors.
Well, the interesting thing about this, though, it is based on a somewhat of a true story where a woman who lost her baby during childbirth found this pregnant woman in an American mall and tried and attacked her in a corridor. And the woman's fighting her off while she's trying to cut through to get the baby for herself by using her car keys. She's trying to get this one a cesarean. So, you know, and I guess the woman went into labor and she did fight her off. And I think that's why I think the movie kind of does work, because you think, okay, well, this can't happen. Da, da, da. But the thing is, she's fighting for the life of herself and her unborn child, which is the only thing left of her family is this child. Because her husband or boyfriend, because we're not quite sure, was she married or was it a boyfriend that she's pregnant by? But he's dead. All she has is her, and you know, the only person that she's got is her baby. She's lost everything.
Yeah. It was pretty. It's a graphic movie, but it was good, though. I mean, like I said, as a woman, to see somebody take a pair of scissors and try to take your child and cut it out, and the ending, oh my God, total. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Just like Will said, I was like going, oh my God. I was afraid to even watch. I was kind of like putting your hand over your face. You know, you're looking through your fingers kind of thing. Just like, you got to watch this. You got to watch this. But it's like, I knew what she was going to do. And this is like, oh, fuck, man. It's a great movie, though. I mean, it's scary. I actually was so interested in it. You know, I mean, they just kept going. And the story, you know, it kind of peeled away like an onion, kind of like Keith said. And I mean, it has substance to it. Unlike the last movie we reviewed, and there was a storyline. And you really either rooted for the villain or the victim, but I kind of liked both of them, you know, even if she was a badass.
I had to sit there and say that Beatrice Dalle, her character, I mean, this is a woman on a mission. I mean, she does away with a lot of people.
Yes, she does. And then she gets burned with that aerosol can and that cigarette, and that doesn't even keep her down. Half her head is blown away, and she's still getting up and motoring. You know, it's like, holy shit.
Yeah. I feel like when you realize what her motivation is, she makes this sort of sense, and you realize that you're not just seeing like a Freddy or a Jason, you're seeing like, you know, like an evil genius enacting their master plan. That's what this is. Right. And the other thing that I think that this succeeds where Frozen fails, because they're not trying to make it super realistic at every turn. It unfolds like a dream. There's a dream logic to it. And so that's what allows you to feel trapped. You're not just watching a VR game. You're in there because it pulls you in by just a little like there's a fairy tale element to the way that everything is shot that sort of kind of causes you to regress a little bit. And then it gets so unbelievable. I think one of my favorite scenes is just where she's talking to the cop and she's like, I killed my mom. And like, you almost sort of forgot about that. And it brings home how this isn't even like the unreality of it all. At the same time, like you're forced to accept the fact that it's actually happening to this person, you know? It's so good.
It was. I mean, it was. I mean, she was like a villain on a mission, and she, you know, like you said, you didn't understand why she was doing this, and then when she explains that that the victim's character, that her baby died in the car accident, you know, when they hit it head on, and she wants her child to replace it, and she's gonna go hell or high water to get it too.
Well, I mean,
you know what I can throughout this whole thing was, my name is Indigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die.
I mean, it's like, you know, it's quite, you know, and I also like the simple fact that you got two sides of a story, and though that it's the same story, but they're two different points of view. Because in her mind, this woman who she's trying to get the baby from is the person who killed her baby. In her mind,
right?
And because they were in the car accident together, weren't they?
Yes.
So you know, so in her mind, this is the murderer of her family. So she's getting revenge, and she's like, "Well, you took my baby, so I'm going to take your baby," and that's the pretty simple premise behind it all. Mm-hmm. And it's quite, you know,
she does take the baby. That's for sure.
And as what you were saying about Beatrice Dalle, the way she's dressed, I mean, when you finally, you kind of see her at the window and you think, okay, she's a bit weird. But then when you actually do see her and the bright light does come on and she's got the corset on, you're like,
I love what she had on. She rocked that outfit, I'm telling you.
I know. And you're just thinking about this woman dressed to kill. I mean, she dressed to kill.
She did. She was definitely gussied up.
And I think that if I ever going to get like revenge on someone and figure I'm going to kill somebody, I'm going to go to a top designer to design a good outfit because I think it makes a lot of difference. Now, there's one thing that I found a bit odd about the film, and what I found a bit odd is the police show up, and then basically, for whatever reasons, they got somebody in the back of the car. And then they take the person from the back of the car and bring them into the house. You're like,
drag him in handcuffs to go in there and get killed too.
Now, the thing is,
this kills everybody.
Well, the thing is, this is the fourth film that I've seen by these directors, and they have this kind of scene in every single film where they have these police show up, or they'll find these kids on the side of the road who've seen something horrible, and they'll take them back to the crime scene or take them into the crime scene.
Exactly.
So I don't know if this is like a special thing for these two directors, it was like their little signature piece, but I found it. I mean, it gave us more body count, and it gave us some very interesting things, and especially like, when the guy's basically been stabbed in the head and he's basically hitting the pregnant woman with a stick because he doesn't know who's attacking him and for whatever reasons.
Right.
It does add a very, very interesting look and style and to the plot as well. But I hope that this isn't a French thing. I hope that if I get picked up in Paris anytime and that there's a crime going on, that they would drop me off at the station before they took me to the crime scene. That's all I'm hoping.
Yeah.
I thought it was, out of a lot of horror films, it definitely kept me on the edge of my seat, though. I mean, it just didn't stop. I mean, she killed everyone. I mean, she was burned alive, basically, and she's still killing everyone. I mean, talk about the ultimate villain,
Yeah.
Now, the interesting thing about the American remake of this, that originally it was going to be directed by Jean Balaguerro. And if that name means anything to anybody, we'll be covering his film next season in a film called the Spanish film Rec. He did the Rec series of films, which I suggest that watch those films. European horror is kind of where it's at the moment.
I know, really, seriously though. I mean, sort of like Shudder. I wish they'd start moving some more selections because, even Korean horror is really excellent.
But what happened with them is that they were going to, now if they were going to do the remake, I think it probably would have been very, very interesting because there's another person that has quite an interesting eye and interesting stories and make interesting films, and they're Spanish. And I think something happened and basically they didn't get on with the American studio again. And it went to a director called Miguel Vivas, who did a film called Kidnapped. Which is kind of like the straight to video kind of mess, and the American remake is a bit of a mess. It's kind of a sanitized version where they kind of they eased up on the violence, but at the same time they kind of made it into something that Jodie Foster could have done. You know what I mean? It was kind of like, they kind of taken out a lot of the syntax and a lot of the plot.
You can't remake it. You just can't. It just doesn't have the same punch. And when I love America, and we all know I do, but I mean, something about our horror has just gotten really fucking boring, and it's not. I mean, that's why I love French horror. I mean, Shudder's got all these films on it, different countries, and I mean, the French just got it down. Well, I mean, they don't pull any punches. They're not afraid to do anything.
I think what it is that when it comes to European horror, I think what they do is they start out with a story first. And I think in America, there's more like, they have a concept. Let's start out with a concept and we'll make a film with a concept. Where European horror tends to be about character motivation and about characters and about the plot. And it's all about plot. And the horror is kind of second to what they're trying to develop. And I think that's probably the reason why Inside does. Because Inside is not let's make a horror film and it won't just be disgusting. We put this in because this was disgusting and let's put that in disgusting. It's like, we're going to make a film about a mother who's pregnant and about a woman who wants to have her baby. And we're gonna base everything on character and plot. And as far as everything else that comes in, that will just be icing on the cake. But we're going to develop a story. And I think that's where European horror does a fantastic job, unlike American horror, where it's all, American horror's concept. It's all about
I agree with you. Not that we don't have some great films. We do. But this one you can't remake, I don't think. Because, I mean, they just got it straight on. I mean, like I said, it was gory. It had a plot, and I like my gore with a plot, but you know, like it was just fucking disgusting some of the shit that happened, but it was great. I loved it.
The interesting thing about this film is that when before Alysson Paradis came on board to play the pregnant Sarah, they asked a lot of French actresses to play this part, and they turned it down. And the reason why they turned it down is because they didn't want to be seen as ugly.
God.
Because, well, I mean, if you think about it, okay, I mean, in the first 15 minutes, Alyson's kind of dowdy looking. She's okay. I mean, she's a beautiful girl when you see her, you know, before and after.
They're beautiful. They're beautiful women.
But you got to remember that she spends most of the film after she's been knifed in the face.
Yeah.
Well, they said the first idea with the storyline was to change the sex of the killer. I guess they thought because it's always a guy chasing after young girls, it was too cliche for the genre, and that's why they turned the identity of the bad guy into a woman. And the film was budgeted, I think it was 1.7 million euros. Yeah. It was received well. Rotten Tomatoes gave it 83%.
Well, when the film first came out, when they wanted to go for an American, they cut it quite a lot to get an R rating. And
wasn't it banned in certain places?
It's banned in quite a few countries. And then basically what happened is that thank God for Blu-ray and DVD releases, because you can actually release things uncut. And because you don't have to deal with the mega chains and all the other things that go along with it, and the MPAA and stuff like that. So this film actually found more of its audience with the release of the Blu-ray and DVD.
I bought mine. I thought it was that good, so I bought it.
Yeah, I think I was only able to buy it.
Amazon?
Yeah, I bought it on Amazon. I'm glad I have it though. It's a good movie. I'll end up watching it again, but probably not for another few more years.
I was gonna plan on watching it again. I was gonna make my kids watch it because I'm that kind of mom.
The DVD and the Blu-ray, which is quite interesting, there is an hour making of documentary about this film. That's quite interesting about how they put it together. And I have to sit there and say, to add to what Will was saying, it is a beautifully shot film. There's so much depth and everything, and with even the scenery sort of thing, even the dull, even like when she's just sitting there watching television, for what, she's falling asleep with that cat getting in her way. It's just beautifully shot. There's not one scene that's just kind of like there just for the hell of it. Let's make something flat. And that's what I quite like about these directors, is that it's almost like watching a 3D film, the way that they shoot everything. There's such depth in their perceptions.
Or you say, Will?
Just that one of the things that I thought was really effective, like I said, I was able to just kind of not watch this completely freaked out this time. And I noticed how, like, they kept cross-cutting the very clean white lines of the bathroom where Sarah's hiding out. And then if you notice where La Femme is, it's all almost shot like in candlelight. There's a very soft focus to her. And it seems like, while Sarah's in there and she's just straight up lying to the cops and lying to her boss and just getting everybody kind of wrapped around her finger, Sarah's in there listening and going, I'm the only one who knows what's going on. And her scenes are the only scenes where everything's shot like super crisp. And it added to like that whole sort of nightmarishness of it, just the way they kept cross-cutting that. I thought it was just really good. And just one of the, like you said, there wasn't a shot in here that was wasted. I can't imagine how they were going to cut it. It's funny, the movie's only an hour and 22 minutes long, and it feels, I won't say it feels longer than that, it just feels greater in scope than that. Like, they did so much in such a short amount of time with this movie. it's really the opposite of Frozen. It's an interesting piece too. But
I agree with that. Especially the end, though, when she goes into labor on the steps, and you go, "Oh my God, she's changed her mind, and she's going to help this woman because the baby gets stuck." So what she do? She gets her scissors out, girls, and she cuts the baby out of the mother, and it's just like, I mean, you guys, you've never going to experience pregnancy, but that's just a big owie watching as a woman. I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe what I'm seeing.
You know what I find interesting about that scene though is that she almost surrenders her child to her. She's almost like, okay, I'll die just as long as you can carry my child. She almost surrenders herself to that, which I thought
I kind of feel the same way.
Mm-hmm.
She did give up.
Well,
I think
it's
die. What, Will?
Just that I found it interesting that La Femme kind of finishes what she set out to do. So does this make her the hero of the movie?
I don't know if she's the hero, but from a Campbellian like hero's journey point of view, if you were to just look at the structure of the story, not so. Anyway, never mind. I'm being a smart ass.
Well, to be honest with you, I think that what you're saying is kind of correct because you do kind of have an anti-hero kind of an ending to it because the thing because the thing is like, they didn't do like the American thing. The American thing basically would have happened is that that pregnant woman would have fought herself away. She would have killed her. She would have ran out in the street. Some police officer would have picked her up, and then she probably next scene would have been her in a hospital bed, cleaned up, with the baby being handed to her. And they didn't
absolutely.
And they didn't have that ending. We got something that we're feeling the pain and horror of what this girl's going through, but she doesn't win, But then again, looking at it from a different point of view is maybe we're looking at everything from the baby's point of view, because at the end of the day, it does begin with the baby and it does end with the baby. So it's almost like
that's true.
Yes.
And we get a lot of viewpoints of the baby with inside the womb.
Yeah.
Which basically, I mean, if you look at the title, Inside, it could be inside the womb, it could be inside the house, it could be, it works.
Well, you can see the baby grimacing and giving some kind of emotional, distress or whatever. The baby was responding kind of sort of to everything that was going on, like the impact of a car wreck or, when something bad was going on outside, I mean, that woman got her ass beat. I mean, a pregnant woman getting this shit knocked out of her as much as she did. I could see why they banned it because it would probably freak out a lot of people.
Well, I have to say, this film gives you something that you're not used to seeing, and that's basically a pregnant woman in peril. I mean, that's something that you don't see every day in a film. It's like, like even like the Netflix Bird Box. She's kind of pregnant and she's kind of keeping quiet, but the thing is you don't really see the horror of what's going on. She doesn't really get attacked. She doesn't really happens to her. And then we also have that other film about A Quiet Place, whereas the pregnant woman and everyone has to be quiet because of these critters that find you with every sound. And we see her giving birth in a bathtub and she's like holding back, but you don't really see her in that much peril. Not like, I mean, this is probably the only pregnant woman film that I see where the pregnant woman is in peril. This pregnant woman's fighting for her life. It's not going to wait like, okay, what we'll do is she's going to have the baby. We'll stop it. You had the baby. Now get back to the action. It's not like that at all.
No.
Like poof.
For all of the shock of the scissor scene at the end, I think for me the harder part to watch was when the cop flips and beats her in the stomach a couple of times with the
oh my God,
that undid me the first time I watched that. It was just the craziest thing I've ever seen. And like, it's interesting that this movie did get an NC-17 because it's purely on the violence alone, and usually there's always I don't know of too many movies that get that for the violence, but this
I would have given it a strong R personally. It was a violent movie. It was violent in any way you could possibly imagine violent.
To be honest, I think that if it was done in English and this film came out, and it was made. It was all done in English. I think it probably would have got an X. But because because it's French, it's a bit like also coming out of French horror at this point was actually these films that had quite explicit sex in them. Like Bois Noir, Intensity. There's quite a huge slew of them, and the sex we saw insertive sex. We're talking about hard penises going into vaginas, the whole lot. But because they were French, I think it's considered art. So because it's foreign, but that they were all speaking English and they were English or whatever, or American, it'd just be porno. So I think maybe that's the reason why I got an N17. Because another thing is like a majority of your English-speaking audiences are not going to go see a subtitled film also. And I think maybe that's why I got the NC-17 instead of like the X rating, maybe. Because
there you got Caligula rated R and Caligula rated X.
Yeah.
That one, Caligula, that's a must-see for everybody.
Because, if you look at, this kind of, this film, and you compare it to, let's say, what was all coming out around this time, wasn't it's not too long after Natural Born Killers and films like that were coming out, like what the Americans were doing, or even if even the Friday the 13th films were being cut left, right, and center just to get an R rating. Right. And an NC-17. Was it Blue Velvet was an NC-17?
I can't believe that was an NC-17.
But we were talking about these are American films made for the American market going into the American multiplexes, and I'm sure that if Inside was done the same exact way, but with an English cast and spoken in English, it probably would have got an X rating. And there's probably no way we would ever seen it uncovered.
It would have never been in the theaters.
Yeah.
Not here anyway. And you're right, if you take the subtitles and the Frenchness out of this movie, it's gonna suck. That's why I just the newer release that they made.
To be honest, I think that's where the American remake suffers. That's what suffers it, because the thing is, you got a film that you don't care about anyone. You're kind of watching it, and it kind of looks like a TV movie that's made for a PG audience. That's what it kind of felt like, And but saying that about the violence in Inside, the thing is, the movie doesn't hinge on its violence. It hinges on the characters.
Yeah.
The violence is part of the story, but it's not the reason for the story.
Right.
I think some of the more tense moments of the story just kind of revolve around Sarah being stuck in the bathroom while this woman is in her house telling people she's the mother or she's this or that. The way that she manipulates these people right before dispatching them that's almost the centerpiece of this story. Just how completely in control this evil genius is, just who shows up on the night when you're at your absolutely most vulnerable.
That's true, though. Home invasion movies, they really are like it's not so much claustrophobic, but home is where you feel safest. It's your sanctuary, and then to have it intruded on in such a capacity, it was so well done. You could almost feel how fucked up this whole situation was as the movie unfolds. And like I said, it's like you're supposed to be safe at home. And so it's almost, it's kind of like a rape of your whole, existence when something like this happens. And people are, if you can imagine it, let's face it, there's somebody out there that'll do it. And I was told, or what I've read, I was telling somebody we were going to do this movie for the podcast, and they told me, this is kind of based on true things because this has happened before, maybe not like the movie. And I looked it up, and God be damned, there are crazy women out there that'll do it.
Maybe this is just a movie about postpartum.
Yeah, shit. Well, I kind of
postpartum depression.
The pregnant woman, I kind of figured she was going to die because she was beaten so badly and she was in labor, and there's no way you're going to survive trauma like that and be pregnant and your water breaking. And it was such a hopeless situation for her, and then she nails her hand to the door when she stuck it out through the hole. And God, it just didn't stop. It wasn't hinged on the violence. The problem was it had a great story that went with the violence, like you're saying.
Yeah.
There was a reason for everything.
Well, when this film came out, there was a lot of home invasion movies coming out at that time. We had the French film Them. We also had The Strangers. And I have to sit there and say that Them is actually quite a decent film. But this is probably the best home invasion thriller films that came out.
Oh, this is the Queen Mother. Yeah.
Well, this one makes more sense, you know. And the thing is that as we were talking about before, I mean, you relatively cared. You actually can put yourself in each of the people's positions in here as well. They weren't just people that were showing up just to be killed off. Everyone was there for a reason, you know, and it wasn't, you know, just cannon fodder for the.
Like you said, just like that guy in the car, you know, he was just getting arrested. Like he said, it's like he doesn't want to be there, and he ends up getting killed because he handcuffed him to the cop, brought him in the house, and you knew they were all going to die. I mean, you just knew it.
I also like, you know, I think one of the most effective scenes is when she's sleeping and you see Beatrice Dalle
in the background.
Well, yes. She comes into the house. The thing, she checks on her. She goes out of her room. She does whatever she does. And I have to say, I don't know where you find scissors like that because I've never seen scissors that long before. But hey. And Sarah keeps a very clean house and very clean utensils.
Apparently.
And then when she, you know, and then she kind of feels her stomach, and Sarah's dead to the wind, and it's like, and then it poof, it takes off. And I said that was the most effective thing because you're watching that going. I remember the first time I saw this, and the first time I saw this is basically I heard about this film. If I hear about something that sounds interesting, I'll read like a few little comments on it. I'll just go and buy it and watch it because there's a lot of things that I'm not going to go see at the cinema because they're never going to reach there for me.
Right.
And this is one of those, and I watched it, and I have to sit there and say it's one of these films I do bring out for people to watch. And Isaac loves this. Is Isaac's favorite movie of all.
I can't believe this is Isaac's favorite movie.
Oh my God! We were watching it again last night, and he's like, God, that movie is so good. He goes, there's not, because I asked him why he likes it. He goes, there's not one thing in that film that I would change about anything. And there's not one, he goes, it's just perfect in every single way. And he goes, and it keeps you, and you can't stop watching. He goes, you're sick. And he goes, even during the violence, you can't look away. You just have to watch it. And he goes, and Isaac said, which I thought was quite interesting. He says that it's the only movie that I've seen like this that every single character I can put myself into. Because I can put myself in the role of the mother and how she's trying to reach her daughter and her daughter's pulling away. Because I can find myself in the cops while they're coming in being confused about situation. And he said he could put himself in every single character in the movie and understand exactly where each one's coming from. And thinking about that after he said that, he does have a point. I have to sit there and say that I can actually look at every single character, and even the arrested boy that's being put into the situation, you can see where he's coming from. No one's making a false step, and you can understand where all their motivations are. Which it's a amazing, wonderful film.
It's done. Whoever wrote this has probably at least studied some plays, because it does have like the sort of economy of a play. You're watching every character serves a purpose, like you said. And then the other thing that I think, I don't know if we've touched on this or not, but the use of sound in this movie is, the score is amazing, and just the way that they'll mute some of the violence as it's happening. You like watch it, and then there's like a second where it gets really quiet, and then all the sound kind of bursts back in. This is one of the first movies I think that where I saw, and it was used that effectively. Both adding a score and then knowing when to take it away in certain like those peak violent moments where you're watching and you're waiting to hear something and you're just not. It sounds anyway.
Well, also I found that even with the subtitles underneath, I didn't really even need to even read them half the time because the movie was so engrossing that you knew what was happening irregardless of the subtitling.
Well, this is the 8th time I've actually watched this film. I've seen it quite frequently. Wow. I'm a sick bastard like that. But actually, I decided to watch it with the English dub version for the first time.
Right.
And
I can't do it.
It actually wasn't as bad. The only thing is there seems to be a slight echo effect with the English dubbing. I don't know.
That stuff drives me nuts, though, because
I think it's because Isaac has difficulty watching it in French and then reading the subtitles sometimes. And he did the first time he watched it, he's like, "Oh," he goes, "I'm really tired. Can we just watch it?" I go, "Fine. If you want to watch it dubbed, we did." And I did watch it, and it still had that effect. So. Surprisingly enough, because I hate dubbed films, but
I don't either. I don't like that.
But I said they did a really good job with the dubbing, actually, because the actors actually sound like they're acting. They didn't sound like they sound a bit. Sometimes dubbing can be sound a bit dead. It's like, oh my God, stop! Don't kill me! It's like, it's like get into it, God damn it, get into it. So the dubbing was okay, so it wasn't that bad. So what we'll do is there's Vicky. What are your final thoughts about Inside?
I loved it. It just didn't stop. It had an excellent story. And even with all the violence, there was a reason for the violence. Like Will said, there was a reason for all the characters to be in there, even the poor bastard in the back of the squad car. And I mean, I loved it. As far as horror goes, it's probably in my top 10. I would really highly suggest it. I would say it's very graphic. Like I said, women, you're going to have to grow some hair on your balls for this one, but it's great. Seriously.
And what about yourself, Will? What are your final thoughts of Inside?
Oh, it's bananas. I love it. There's no reason that you should love this movie. It should be completely reprehensible.
Exactly.
Like when I describe what this movie is to people, that I'm like, yeah, it's really good. You should see it. Well, what's it about? You got a minute?
Yeah.
No, but it's an amazing film. It's just one of those things I think that has to be seen to be believed. Like we can sit here and talk about it all day long, but to try and understand why a movie like this, which by all rights should just be terrible, is as good as it is. And it's good. Like you're watching it, you're not just frightened, you're just fully engrossed.
Exactly.
And for them to be able to do that with the subject matter being as just horrific as it is something.
It was brilliant. It really was.
I strongly recommend this.
And for myself, Inside is up there. It's in one of my top 10 horror films to watch. And for people out there, what qualifies as an excellent horror film for me when people do ask me, because I do love horror films.
Exactly.
I watch anything from the Friday 13th up to something a bit more substantial like this. And the reason why Inside's up there is because a horror film to speak to me and for me to actually really get involved in has to have a couple things going for me. And it has to be like I have to be emotionally invested in the story, emotionally invested in the characters, and emotionally invested in everything that I'm seeing and hearing. And Inside ticks every single box for me.
Exactly. Totally with you.
My heart gets racing. My heart cries. My heart beats so fast that sometimes it's beating out of my chest. And I'm catching my breath. And emotionally, I feel emotionally drained after watching Inside in a very, very good way. And that's why Inside will always work for me. The one good thing about seeing Inside this time around, though, it did make me really excited about Season 3, because Season 3 we're doing a whole year after we're done with our Alfred Hitchcock season. And in September, we'll be doing European horror. We'll be discussing all the fantastic European horror, so we'll be looking at one film a month. So this actually made me really excited about starting to cover that side of it.
Exactly.
I'm actually getting kind of bored with Season 2 and ready to go to Season 3 already. But
I know. I'm ready to jump in too.
So before we get started, Will, where can people find you?
Really the best place to find me now is on medium.com. I'm going to be putting a lot of energy into that. Staying away from the base 5 social medias really a whole lot. You can also just look for my books on Amazon. I've got Infernal Machines and the Children of Judas trilogy. They're all 99 cents each. Grab one. You'll like it. And then, like I said, I've got the Exegesis coming out next week on Medium, so just keep an eye out for that too.
I can't wait to see what you're doing on Medium.com. I'm going to be watching you.
Awesome. Forward to it.
And for our subscribers to our newsletter, all Will's information will be on our website and will be in our newsletter, which will be out on the last day of April. That says goodnight to us at the Literary License Podcast. Now, to remember, you can find us at www.llpodcast.com. You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, and Instagram. And I'd like to give out a great big shout out to everyone on Instagram because we have now got 582 new Instagram followers this week.
Cool. Love y'all.
Fantastic. And I want to give a shout out to My Kitchen Rules, the TV show that's in Australia. Thank you for following us. Thank you for pushing us. And thank you. They're the #1 rated show in Australia at the moment. And they have actually been pushing us like hell on Instagram because they love us.
I think they're fantastic too.
So anyone who wants to see My Kitchen Rules and not in Australia, you can find them through illegal websites. Like that's how I watch it. So, but thank you, big shout out to you guys, and thank you for all your work. And yes, Austin and Josh all the way. So that brings us to our claustrophobia second episodes of 2 for 1. Next week we'll be covering Alfred Hitchcock's Lifeboat, which has one of the rare appearances of Tallulah Bankhead in one of her most starring and memorable roles. So we can't wait to go into that, and that will finish off our claustrophobic month. Other than that, I'm going to say goodnight for you. So say goodnight, Vicky.
Good night, everybody.
Say goodnight, Will.
Good night, y'all.
And it's goodnight for myself, and we'll see you next month with Lifeboat.
There's nothing you could have done.
I just sat here. And I let him die.
No, you didn't. We didn't let him die, okay? There was nothing we could have done. He jumped down there to save us, okay?
Is it my fault now? You were too young to learn. So I will watch the smoke rise as the fire burns. I was the devil's only friend, and you fought to release me. I wasn't strong enough alone until you freed me. 'Cause we got out in the nick of time. Wind us up and we're running wild. Nobody lives forever. 'Cause we got out in the nick of time. We're running straight together. Wind us up and we're running wild. Nobody lives forever. When everything you love is gone, but it doesn't hurt, and you just walk away. 'Cause staying is worse. Mama always told me keep your head up high as they try to push you down. And when you feel that weight creeping up to you, you gotta leave it on the ground. 'Cause we got out in the nick of time. Just wind us up and we're running wild. Nobody lives forever. 'Cause we got out in the nick of time. Just wind us up and we're running wild. Nobody lives forever. 'Cause I tried to talk you down, to bring you cover to start fading out. Still my brother. 'Cause we got out in the nick of time. Just wind us up and we're running wild.